how do I understand gender-based violence? Because maybe we need to understand it before we can even meaningfully deal with it. And if we then understand gender-based violence to be either men beating up their wives, boyfriends beating up their girlfriends, or spouses, either husbands, raping their children, or girlfriends beating their boyfriends, because it's also an issue. We must be gender neutral when we're dealing with the issue of gender-based violence. We must never look at it from a one-sided point of view. I think that's important. But at the end of the day, one thing I want us to understand in this 16 days of gender-based violence, or 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, is that we are not helpless as a society. And we can certainly play an active part. And why then should I care? It's important for me to say I care about gender-based violence because, one, I've got sisters, I've got a wife, I've got even brothers. I must indicate, even brothers that I care about and love, and I want them protected. And as a result of that, it's important that I do something when I see signs that there is a problem with either abuse of some form or the other. And abuse is not always physical; it's psychological also, and it's not always seeing marks or scars on the body or seeing a dead body in particular. And if we claim then that we care, then we need to ensure that we protect. I think that's important. And I think, again, as South Africans, we sometimes talk over each other, and we make this a battle of the sexes, as opposed to all genders, all stakeholders coming together on the table and having an honest and open dialogue as to what are the causes of gender-based violence. I think that's one of the problems that we have. So we need definitely to sit on the table and start having an honest conversation of what are the root causes of this. Because if you don't understand the problem and its root causes, you can't meaningfully address that problem. So that's one thing that I think about this whole issue of gender-based violence. And also there are issues where, as much as we can depend on the state, we must accept that the police officers cannot be in every household in this country. They are outnumbered by far. And often there is another problem where a woman being beaten up by the husband would go report to the police, and very soon thereafter withdraw the case. And then you find that law enforcement officers are then helpless. There's nothing they can do about the issue. So those are some of the issues to say. One, we need to educate our young people about gender-based violence. But more than that, we also need to be aware of the signs of gender-based violence, so that when they exist, either somebody shares things with us, and if they share, then we need to empower them with information. And we must not try to impose solutions of how they should deal with it. We need to help them deal with it in their own unique way and how they want to deal with it. Because if you give them ownership of solving that issue or dealing with that issue, then they feel more strengthened or more pressed to meaningfully engage it. But one thing is, sometimes you don't even need to say a lot. You just need to be present. You just need to be there. And when somebody then wants to talk to you, then just give a listening ear. But I think education is at the heart of dealing meaningfully with gender-based violence. And we can always have our community leaders getting involved, our the traditional leadership in this country getting involved. Obviously, we cannot do it without the political leadership and state institutions in this country. The courts are also there, but professionals, your social workers, your psychologists, these are people that can play a role in empowering us with information. Because there is also problems around people that see forms of violence being an act of love, and that's also very problematic. How do you help somebody who sees a jealous boyfriend who beats her up as something that is an act of love? So it's more complicated, this whole issue of gender-based violence. But one thing I'm saying to you South Africans is that you will turn a blind eye today because you think it won't happen to you until it does. When you are the one that your spouse is beating, when it is your sister that's being beaten or being raped, so turning a blind eye is not an option for all of us, but more so for those that I bet mentally disabled and the vulnerable, being the children. We need to create a safe space for them in this country to be in a position to better deal with gender-based violence. So let it not just be a mere rhetoric during this 16 days of activism, and let it not just be about the 16 days. This is something that should be a part of us as a society, as a community, and we must never, in my view, as families, create safe spaces for perpetrators of gender-based violence to find refuge in our spaces. We should shun them, and we need to ensure that as communities and as families, we try to address it. Because as families, we know who are the perpetrators within us, and within our communities, we know them. And because we know them, we then need to ensure that we address it, and through the steps that I've already indicated. So in short, South Africans, I want to say to you, let us be mindful as we remember those that have lost their lives at the hands of a perpetrator of gender-based violence, femicide, and many others. And as much as we want to honor them, let's honor them by preventing a reoccurrence of the same thing. We will never get different results, and we'll forever be complaining about the same thing if we want to approach it from the same perspective. We claim we love, and because we love, then we protect. Happy 16 days of activism, and I hope it won't just be an issue of words, but in every action that we take, we will continue to create a safe space for those that we love. Thank you very much, and looking forward to the next video.